Check. I just hit record, and we're not going back no matter what. We're in this now, guys. You click play, I click record. We did that simultaneously. We did that in sync, guys. There's literally no going back this time, and I am not gonna repeat this again. Oh dear, guys, I gotta tell you a whole thing. Okay, I recorded this podcast technically yesterday, but it was such an absolute disaster. I attempted to start it 9 different times. I don't know what it was. I think I was just wiped from the day, and I just wasn't. I don't know. I just couldn't keep a train of thought, And I think I also wanted to speak on specific things. I find that if I give myself a script, especially for something as loose as a podcast, it doesn't really work. And I already kind of, I don't know, I'm just trying to experiment and stuff, but it wasn't really working. I'm still, working out the flow of the way that things go, which is absolutely no flow whatsoever. It is just me clicking record and just seeing where this rabbit hole takes us. But how have you all been, guys? How's your week going? Sorry I'm releasing this a little late in the week. I think at the time of recording, it's April 6th. At 10:33 p.m. in our Eastern Standard Time of the mystical and ancient winter wonderland of Toronto, Mississauga, Canada kind of realm. It's, I don't know why I said winter. It's kind of, you know why I said winter? I said winter because we're not safe yet. Some people think that because there's a little bit of good weather, we're getting a little bit of above zero weather. Zero, and if you guys know Celsius is 0 is the freezing point, so that's cold. Anything below 0 is freezing, and I'd say if you want an idea, if you people have Fahrenheit, if any of you are from the States or anywhere else that has Fahrenheit type of vibes, because of course you come here for all those science kind of conversions, mathematical science conversions. I'm the one that does all that, and of course it's the number one science math related podcast, so of course that I would be talking about that. But it gets cold around 10. I'd say 10 is 15 is room temperature, something like that. I consider 15 degrees is before it's really hot, and it's just above cool, or it's it's around cool. 15 could be cool, you could wear a light jacket, a 15 in the daytime could be pretty warm, but a 15 at night is nice because it's it's still it's not freezing, and it's more of you'd get 15 kind of 15 would be nighttime summer, that to give you that vibe. But right now in April, the thing about Canada, especially in Ontario specifically, is there's no consistency of the weather, almost whatsoever. I don't know if it's like that for wherever you guys are, but you have to dress literally for all seasons at this time of year, because each day is it's so out of whack. It's just all over the place. So the thing I'll do these days is I'll wear, I'll wear a hoodie and a thick, I got a bomber jacket recently from Value Village, which is a thrift store chain. I got it for I think it was $15 too. And it's one of those apparently actual flight jackets. My cousin knew about. I was with my cousin and we went there, and it's pretty, it's one of the ones with no collar, and it has the orange lining on the inside, and it's one of those flight ones. And it's funny, ever since I've had that jacket's been my good luck, because I've actually had multiple comments on when I rock that fit, when I rock that jacket with almost any of the fits that I wear, whether it's cargo pants. I typically wear boots and some kind of nice pants. But and in the way that I wear my pants now is kind of baggy, but I cuff them, That's one of the new styles. because I think I used to do like more tapered pants, and then in high school, it was the skinny jeans. Now it's kind of like the style's kind of like there's not one style now. Like there's not one obvious style. I think if I'm to think of like the stereotypical stuff, I don't even know if there's a what do I even think of like for like hipsters? Like skinny jeans aren't as much like of an obvious fad as it was like 10-15 years ago. Like skinny jeans were big in the late 2000s and the 10s, around when H&M first started really happening. And then I remember that was around the time that, like all the emo bands and like even like some of the rappers like started wearing tight clothes. I remember specifically when tight clothes came back in the 2000s. And I think it started with, it was kind of like the colored pink stuff, because I remember, or like the polo shirts, like, the Kanye stuff, like it was all about extra baggy. And then at a certain point, for me, it was around grade 8 that it stopped being about baggy and it started to be about tight, colorful colors. And that was like the new trend. And I don't know how this all ties into whatever the weather was, but somehow there's something to unpack there. There's something to unpack about the weather there. But in general, with April, this had to do with dressing for all seasons. So that, as I was saying about that jacket, I'll wear that jacket, or like a kind of like a light winter or fall or springish jacket, a bomber jacket, or like I have one of those those Levi's jean jackets with the fur lining, like on the collar. Like I have one of those. You might have seen it on. I actually wore it on the newest video, which I'll get into in a bit. But I'm pretty sure I wore that new jacket in that video. I got it from my uncle, and that jacket's a good one. But yeah, you gotta dress like literally. Like the thing about April in Toronto and Canada is that it's so like we're not safe from winter, bottom line. But I think people like the thing that's so annoying about it is that, and I think a lot of people are still, on the whole in this mentality that like they think that there's still hope in April. You just gotta accept like we're still in winter, okay? Mentally, it's almost like April is kind of like what COVID has been for the last 2 years, where there's like this little bit of hope, you get a little bit of hope, and then boom. Lockdown in the case of April would be a snowstorm, and I don't want to jinx it, but like, we're not truly home free yet is what I'm trying to say. I think that there's potentially, if I'm going to be cynical but honest, I think that there's going to be, I don't want there to be, but I'm going to accept that there might be one more major snowstorm, but I think we're kind of in the tail end. Like we're for sure in the tail end, but April is never like a safe time. And one thing that made me realize that too, and I kind of put it together, was in Scott Pilgrim, if you remember in the movie, and I forget if I think it's in the book also, but there's a bit where he goes on a date with Ramona Flowers, and she's remarks like, they're in a blizzard, and she's like, this is ridiculous, isn't it like April? And it's in Toronto, and it's April. And then that kind of stuck with me that, oh yeah, that is true. Like April's supposed to be viewed as spring, and it technically is, but like it's still that weird period of like nothing is really set. And that's the thing about, I think spring is probably my least favorite, even though it's when my birthday is too. Wait, is March considered April? Is March considered April? Guys, just let's just unpack what this podcast is slowly unraveling into. Complete madness already. Only about 9 minutes in, but guys, we still got a lot of fun to have. But no, is March considered spring? I wasn't sure if March, because that's when my birthday is. But I always considered it basically spring, like borderline winter. I don't know what the official start date of all the seasons is, because I know, is there not specific dates? But March is like, it can go either way, but it's still typically snowing. April is like that one that's like a wild card, so it's like, that's why it's kind of, in that sense, I wouldn't say my least favorite, But like by the time May rolls around, it's already getting pretty warm, you know? Like by then it's already pretty much like the beginning of like kind of early beginning of summer, but still some, you know. But even then, like there's crazy weather all around. It's not even like December is like perfectly winter wonderland all the time. Like it one thing I hate is that like when it's like deep winter, anytime before New Year's, and I think everyone's on this too, where it's like after New Year's you're already over winter, but anytime up until New Year's and Christmas then New Year's is when you kind of want there to be, you know, festive seasonal, like you want it to snow. And it makes it because the last few years it like never snowed on Christmas. So I think was it this year it did? I think this year we actually had a nice white Christmas. So that one was like that was good. And every once in a while it makes it emphasize, it gives it more oomph when there's a snow on Christmas. You got to have that. But in terms of my favorite seasons in general, I might have to say if I'm honest, like the obvious thing is, you know, I there's something to appreciate about everything. For me personally, as I've mentioned, spring is kind of around when my birthday is, so there's but honestly, like as I get older, like, and I think any of you in your like 20s might be able to relate if you're like over 25 or approaching, you'll notice that like as soon as you hit 25, like you don't care anymore, or like every birthday after that, I can confirm, being 3 years deep into that, 28 now, that you already stop caring. It's like, oh no, stop, because like you feel like 25 is like the peak of your like cool youthness, and then everything from there, it's like I still consider myself young, but it's like I feel like I'm on the older end, because it's just one of those things that it gets weird when you get older. Like I'm in that part of my life, and I think it's kind of like that, like since college, you know, for most people, but you start to realize the change of generation before you. Like you were the one that was the shit, you know, you're the one that was all cool, but eventually it's like you get out of touch, and then it's the kids that are changing, and you're the one that's like all of a sudden the grandpa that's telling them to turn down that racket next door, throwing brooms at them. But no, it is the children that are wrong. Yes, that's as I believe Principal Skinner says. That's a good rule of thumb, guys. It's always remember that once you start to feel totally out of the loop and afraid of the children, it is actually the children's fault. You are the one that is correct in every scenario, and everyone should revolve around exactly the way that you perceive the right thing to be, you know? What you know is the style is the real style on the whole. If only we could all just agree on what the exact way to do everything is. Wouldn't that be great if everyone just did everything? You know, what if style just stayed the same and it just never changed, and then everyone's cool all the time? But the thing about today is that I noticed, especially like having younger siblings, I see that there's definitely, you know, it's more about like the change of like the way that technology is like a big part of it. Obviously there's changes in like style, music, and all that, so that's the stuff that you look at in culture are typically like, at least that I kind of consider, are like, you know, the trends in music style is like, this is like the surface level stuff that you're gonna remember and talk about when you think about, you know, the past music, anything that like contributes to trends, you know. But then obviously the big one is, you know, technology, and just that completely dictates like your social life and the way you do things. Because it's like when I was like in high school, like at least I don't think Tinder might have existed, but I don't think it was like nearly a thing until like maybe college for me. Like at least that I was aware of it. I don't think I knew that Tinder was a thing until maybe after high school. Yeah. But I think the thing is, when you're in high school, I don't think you're using stuff like that. I think it's like us old school cats now that are like, I gotta find a date, because I don't see people. I'm in my, how am I supposed, I don't know how I'm not getting people in this basement, guys. I don't know how I'm not getting people, or whatever it is that's projecting on the back here. I don't know how I'm getting people from wherever it is that I am right now. But you know, you just gotta live with it. You just gotta accept the change of times. You got to adapt, guys. You got to adapt. And yeah, like when I'm thinking about like if I were to have done this channel like back when I was in high school, I probably would have. You always think about the figurative what ifs. Like I'm always like, oh man, what if I started the channel in high school? Like what would have happened? Or like, what if you started doing podcasts? But it's always like, you could always like dwell on those what ifs and stuff. But like I think the big downfall of like some people and like their like motivation for stuff or whatever like is always dwelling on like figurative things as opposed to actually like doing. And as we say, guys, number one motivational, top rated in my own mind podcast of all time. So you just got to do it. You just got to do it. Somehow this motivational talk stemmed out of the weather for some reason, and that's just the way things go, guys. This has been a very coherent conversation, which of course they're all like, oh, so that's what he was talking about. We don't know. We don't know. Who really knows, guys? We don't really know. But guys, it's already, by the time this comes out, it's gonna be like, assuming I'm on schedule, which I hope, the latter half of the week, whenever it is you're listening. And I've been trying to stay back on the schedule, as I've mentioned, trying to, because I find that when I like time block things in the day, it's like if I keep myself accountable to that, like I'm more likely to do it, because sometimes I'll like linger and not like actually like do something, or like mentally say that I'm gonna do this productive task next, but I keep pushing it off because like I'm not bound by a time. And that's one thing nice about like the fact that oh yes, of course, my new flexible job that I have, my new top secretive delivery package job for very high-end classified clients, which may or may not involve food delivery. Yes, that is of course the exact title on my. That is actually the job title. If you go on my LinkedIn, you will actually see top secretive delivery package job for very high-end classified clients, which may or may not involve food delivery, as a job title 2022 to present. So yeah, if you need very top secretive things, then you know who to call. If you need top secretive things in general, not even delivered, but yeah, I've been doing that job for the last while. It's been about a month-ish now, and it's been good. Like I've been trying to, again, back to the schedule. I've been aiming to wake up at like 7:30, but that's just like my always striving for that. But I've been like I'm such a hard like riser in the morning. Like that sounded very not the way I wanted it to sound. A very hard riser in the morning. No, that is not it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. Maybe it's partially what you think it is. Like everyone, we're all, people it's hard for people, it's a hard rise in the morning. Some people get a hard rise in the morning. But no, that's not, I meant that it's hard for me to wake up. And all the listeners are all like, but that's of course what we thought. Like, what else could you be talking about? Of course he means waking up late, But like, so I aim for 7:30. I end up getting up around 9 or so. As I said, a very hard rise in the morning. And the thing is that when I get, getting up at 9, that like offsets it, and then I don't start work until like 10. So like that's still like, it's not bad. Like I've been doing that, and I'm trying to get up even earlier. Like today, for example, like I actually got up around 8:30, but I'm still a slow riser. A slow rise. Yeah, guys, this is just my life now. I am bound to this. I need to commit to this now. But when I get up around like 8:30, like I sometimes, or whenever I get up, I'm that type that like, even though I know I have something to do, it's still on my own time, and then I have this like, how you have like all these like levels of like rationale in your head where you like, it's like that thing like first thing in the morning, you're in this like different, not fully coherent mindset, but you're the only things really going in your mind are like, okay, do I need to get up right now? Like that, it's like, do I need to get up right at this moment? Like, is it that urgent? And then I'm that person that's more inclined to be like, no, I have time, but I need to tell myself I don't have time. I need to be go, go, go. I need to get myself, but but there's some level of being on a really good schedule, but also just, being very in the moment. You want to do everything meaningfully because you don't want to let life just pass you by. You want to, you want to be in the moment. You want to live in it. You want to bask in it. You want to swim in it. You want to just put that moment all over your body. You want to put that moment. You want to rub that moment all over your body and just bask in it and just stew in it. Just stew in the sauces of the moment and just put it all up in the crevices and let it glisten in the magnificence of the moment all over yourself, and just, I am just in it right now. Guys, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? But, speaking of my food delivery, I had this one order. This is like the one major cheeser that happened like in the last week. I think it wasn't this week. It was last week, mid time last week. I had a specific delivery order from Tim Hortons, a very known, a very niche, up and coming coffee, fast food coffee chain from Canada, and I think it's spread a bit to the States. I think I've seen it in New York, so it's like, I think it's one of those things, like I view it as like the way that we view like In-N-Out in California, or just in terms of like being a regional thing. And it's like one of those things that I feel like people from out of town, like when they go there, they want to have it. And that's how I think people view Tim's. Is that how you view Tim's if you're not from Canada? I don't know. Let me know. I that's what I imagine. Because I feel like when I go to the States, I want to have like everything. Of course, you want to have the stuff that's from there. And I don't know, like, because we have Tim's so often here, like when you're from somewhere and you have that thing, like, people, like, I think when you have it so much, like you stop seeing the appeal almost. And I still have it all the time, but it's, it's one of those things. It's like I feel like a lot of people could say they're maybe sick of getting Tim's or even McDonald's and stuff like that. But then of course you got the diehards. You can't, don't never speak down on the double, the hallowed and revered mystical double. But I had a big order from there last week, and I had one of those. If you've ever seen the delivery bags, they're the very big paper bags. And I'm not gonna use this time to like call anyone out. But at this one location that I had an order from, which is actually near me, I had two different orders in the same trip, that had these big, like a lot of stuff. Like I'm not even allowed to look in the bag because, of course, like you don't want to tamper with it and have it sealed. So they put the tape, the stickers on the opening of the bag. So I just hold it, right? Like it's out of my hands. It's in my hands. It's out of my hands to look in those bags. Like I can't, like, I just accept it. I trust that they did their end of the job and I do my end of the job. So I take the bags, I put them in my car. One of them is on my car seat and one of them I put on the ground. And, I go to do the first drop off to my very top secretive high-end delivery, even though you probably know. I pretty much just already said what the job is, but let's just pretend still that I'm doing all these deliveries for very secret very top high-end exclusive clientele. Let's keep the allure going. We're gonna keep the allure going, guys. But I dropped out the first one, went well, nothing wrong with that. But as soon as I get back into the car, and the thing is too, I don't know what factor there was of this, but like, some driveways, like there's like a slight, slant in whatever direction. This one, it was like going into the driveway, it's like an uphill. So like the car's on the slightest like slant, downhill slant. Like the rear is like on a downhill slant. And it's not like that crazy or anything, but it's enough that it's, you can notice it. And I had and this is mind you, this is a big paper bag too, like the big ones, like the ones that like it's supposed to hold like a bunch of drinks, and whatever's in it. So I had it on the seat, and it was kind of like at an angle, but it wasn't tipped over. Like it was there. It was just standing still, and it's like there's nothing to really suggest that it was a big deal. But I go in, and this is when I learned that it was indeed a big deal, because I lifted up the bag, and actually as I'm going in to lift it, I see that there's a discoloration at the bottom of the bag, because it's a brown paper bag, but then towards the bottom it's like it suddenly turned drastically dark at the bottom. And I'm like, what is that? Like, it was already there when I got in the car, and I'm like, I hope that's not a big deal. So, but obviously, my instinct is just like, let's lift up the bag and inspect the bottom of the bag. I was not able to do that. I was able to inspect the innards of the bag, because what happened, guys, is I grabbed the bag, I picked it up, and as I'm picking it up, I did not realize that the contents in the bag had spilled in the bag, standing upright. The bag had not fallen over. It was upright, and the contents had spilled in the bag. And when I lifted it, it literally was like paper mache, and all of a sudden it was Niagara Falls. I'm in Niagara in Buffalo. A little hot coffee ASMR for my nose and my ears. Does ASMR count for your nose? I don't know. But it was enough. There was so much liquid that it actually looked like a mini creek or waterfall. And it was like, when it's just, when you're just right in the middle of that moment where it's just, you can't even, it's like, I remember that before you're even reacting, or your only reaction is to be like, oh, and it's like, you can't really do anything. Like you can't, you're not rationally thinking yet. You're just more so taken aback that the thing's happening. So like there was like a few seconds of me just like in panic, like looking at this thing spill, like no, like, and I couldn't even do anything with it. I didn't have fast enough reflexes, and I don't even think it was possible in that moment to even have done that without anything spilling out. But it completely destroyed everything in the bag. Like the food was all drenched and already destroyed, and like the coffee, which was a beigeish. For those of you, I know that those of you are wondering, but like, what color was the coffee? Was it black? Was it one cream and one sugar? Was it what I could deduce from seeing the coffee, and of course me being a coffee connoisseur, it was in the realm of like, there was cream in there. There was cream or milk in there. It could have been, it's the look, it was the consistency of a double visually, which is like a kind of like a caramel kind of tinge, and that is of course the details that matter, right? I know, because I know some of you are clamoring on that end, but like, what color was it? What color was it? I'm sorry guys, just forgive me, just don't get mad at me in the comments. I meant to get to the color of it. I didn't mean to hold it off for that long. I knew that you really cared, and I know that is definitely the most important thing in this discussion that I needed to address. So before you start going crazy on me, taking a clip of me saying everything except for the color of the coffee, just know that I was going to get to that. Okay, guys, just don't get mad at me, please. I beg of you. I beg for your forgiveness. Okay. But no, you know what? I'm committing to that. No, you know what? I wanted to be edgy. I wanted to talk about the color of the coffee last. You know why? Because even though I knew it was the most popular thing, I wanted to go against the grain. Okay, I wanted to go against the grain because obviously when you're spilling coffee and you're panicking, the first thing you're doing is looking at the consistency and the color of the coffee. But me, in my case, I wanted to go against the grain. And you know what? I'm going to do a more outlandish thing, which is freak out about the fact that there's coffee on my car and look for something to dry it. And, worry about the color later. Because everyone does that. That's the mainstream thing to do, okay, guys? We go against the grain here, okay? We don't do that weird, I don't know. If anything, I do the weird stuff. I don't do the regular stuff, okay? We go into the trunk. Now I'm saying it as if it's still a bit, but no, this is just, I go into the trunk and I'm just looking for whatever I had to dry it off. Because like there's enough liquid on the seat to like, it's the seat is somewhat submerged. You know how there's like, there was enough that the coffee didn't just go in, like it was still just like sitting like just loose liquid just on the seat. So I go into the trunk and I have this hammock. For OGs of the stream would know this, but I have this hammock for the car that I put on the back seat. It's one of those ones you clip to the headrest, to the back of the back seat headrest, to the front seat headrest, but it's like it makes like a little hammock and it's like for your doggy. And it has a little hole and you have a little seat belt thing in there. It's safe for the dog. But anyways, that's literally the only sort of big material blanket type. It's the closest thing to like a towel or something that I could get. It's not even like it was the right material, so it was not the best idea, but it was, it's what I did. It's what we do on the fly. So I took that and I tried to soak it like the way you would with a towel. And then I see underneath a box of like tissues that I had like underneath my seat was like completely just obliterated. It was just annihilated because like tissues already are so like delicate, and like to have like possibly the entire Atlantic Ocean's worth of coffee spill would leave a little bit of a mark. So let's just say that those tissues are still salvageable. I still use them, blow my nose. It's just now that there will be a nice hint of old crusted up coffee on my nose after blowing it. But like the seat, like I was worried actually the most because the sensor for the seat, like on the car, like the dashboard on the driver, like the dashboard, like the red light for like putting on your seatbelt was like on, and then the one for the airbag. And I know that has to do with like sensors that are like in the seat. And I was like, oh, please. I think I've had it one other time where like that light stayed on and it ended up, thank God, like the next day it just dried up, and then it was fine. And that was the case this time. Thank God I didn't have to get any reparios. I don't know how serious it is though. Like I know some people leave it's one of those things that it's not super urgent. Like you don't need to get that to survive. Not that I'm condoning that, you want to keep your car tip-top shape. But I've been in cars where people like, have the sensors aren't all working sometimes and whatever. Like it's not the end of the world, but I'm just glad like I did not have to pay for any, because I knew I would have been annoyed at that thing and I probably would have went to go get the repairs, whatever that costs. I don't know what that costs to do that. But I got a little bit of the coffee on my hat, and it was that little toque or toque. Toque is like is that like a Canadian term? I think toque, but I've heard toque too. Toque, but not like bro, you gonna wear that toque? Bro, you gonna wear that toque later, dude? Bro, you gonna wear that toque? Dude, okay, you said the joke. You don't have to keep going about it. We understand. We knew what you meant the first time. Yeah, but bro, like you gotta try this toque. You gotta try a toque of this toque, man. It's like so. That's quite enough of that. I don't know how long I would have wanted to commit to that voice. Let's just talk. Let's talk for the rest of the podcast in that voice. And in that moment, I just have infinite unsubscribers of the channel. Perhaps it's for the best. We will continue in a regular tone of voice. But yeah, I got some of the coffee and milk on my hat, my little toque, and beanie is like the term, beanie, but that's too obvious, guys. We're going with toque, Toke. You know, I know it's supposed to be Toque, but we're gonna go toque. You know, so we got a little bit of coffee on my toque, and it was like, it wasn't drenched, but it was enough that it was like damp enough that I put it on my head, and I'm like, ew. So I was like, no, like I'm gonna leave that out, leave it in the sun to dry, because of course that's what you do when you have coffee and cream mixed in. You just leave it out in the sun to bake and dry, and that is the best case scenario for cleaning something with cream, lactose, cow products. But yeah, I left that out for like a day, kind of forgot about it. And then the next day I wore it, and I realized that after a certain amount of time, I was wearing it, just going about my day, living my life, reading the Bible, all sorts of stuff. And I realized partway, what's that? I'm just at home, and I'm just like, I just get home and I'm just around my family. I'm just like, why does it smell like yak? Why does it smell like throw up? And like in that moment, they just kind of turn to me and they're just like, oh, he finally knows. And I'm like, oh, yeah, about the hat? And they're like, oh, he thinks it's the hat. Oh, okay, just go along with it. Yeah, it's the hat. It's the hat. Yeah, it's that. And he thinks to just make him feel better. Okay, he'll find out one day. But just let him think it's the hat. Let him think it's just the hat. No, trust me. No, I spilt coffee on it. I'm telling you. No, yeah. No, it's coffee. Yeah, for sure. It's coffee. No, I'm telling you, I spilt coffee and cream, and it's the cream. It's lactose. I'm telling you. Yes, yeah, it's lactose. Yeah, it's the cream. Yeah, for sure. Just don't worry about it. Go over there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We gotta tell him at some point. I don't know how much I can. I don't know how long I can live like this anymore. Like, he showers like once a week, and he might, I might like the smell of yak, but I don't know. We'll tell him Monday. But that is an exact recollection of the conversation that we had. And yes, the bottom line is that all stories lead to an underlying issue of somehow this becomes about me smelling like throw up. That's kind of the moral of the story, I assume. Take from that what you will. But yeah, that is pretty much the deal with that. And yeah, it's nice, like, it's a different kind of vibe just being in the car all day. Otherwise, that other than that little hiccup, it's been pretty chill. Like I get to just cruise around, explore parts of the city that I don't normally go to. Sometimes it brings me back to like familiar areas, and it's also just getting more acquainted with places that you might have not normally gone, because there's so much of the city that I haven't seen still, or other municipalities, I should say, because like I'm, as mentioned previously, in Mississauga, which is it's technically its own city now. Like, it's not considered a suburb of Toronto, but it's one of those things where it's like, I view it as like the way New Jersey is viewed to New York, where it's like people commute there for work, but they live out there, and it's not quite in the city, but it's still kind of, it's close enough that you can kind of consider it. But I think it's like a lesser established version of that, because I think people might argue that more, because the New Yorkers are very specific about their heritage and their stuff like that. And I don't know if they like hearing. I have no idea about this. Like, do New Yorkers care about people? Do they care about if people from New Jersey say they're from New York? I feel like Toronto probably has that too. Like, people from, I think I've heard jokes like, things like, well, people from Oshawa saying they're from Toronto or something like that, where it's like, and that reference is basically that Oshawa is another kind of suburb that's like, it's like 10 suburbs away from Toronto, basically, because you got Toronto, and then when you're going east, you got Scarborough next, which is still kind of technically Toronto, and then you have uh, Pickering, then you have Ajax, then you have Whitby, then you have Oshawa. I think that's the order, and that's just going progressively east. And then when you go west, it's from Toronto. It's Toronto, then Etobicoke, which is kind of it's still in the city, but then that's when then Mississauga after that. It's kind of considered its own thing. And when the obvious level of, I don't know about it in terms of like government stuff, but from the outside, you can tell that it's different strictly off the fact that we have our own transit system. Like we don't use a TTC. Like there's connecting, lines that you can go from a Mississauga bus to a TTC, which is the Toronto bus and subway line. But it is its own kind of, I think they're deeming it its own city. I'm pretty sure. It doesn't really make a difference one way or the other, unless it does. The only difference I see it making is, and maybe I don't know if it's more of a detriment, maybe, is that I would now I have a car, right? But like in the days that I didn't have a car, I would have loved if they had the TTC out in Mississauga, because it was so much more of a hassle for me back in high school, and then even like to go out with friends and stuff like that in college, and like mostly high school and college. Basically every time that I didn't have a car, which was my whole life until 2 years ago. But like I would have to take like it's one of those things where I have to take multiple buses. I was savvy, with like getting around by bus because I did that since high school, and then went all around Toronto, and I'd even visit like my friends, and my dad is actually in the East End, so I would go over to Ajax or Pickering, sometimes taking the bus and stuff to get there. And yeah, it would have been nice if it was all just the TTC, because the TTC line, it ends, which basically in, I think it's considered Etobicoke, Kipling Station, which is the westmost station. It's Toronto, but I don't know if is that considered Etobicoke? I think it's still considered Toronto. I don't know where it's considered. It's like kind of borderline Etobicoke, not quite Mississauga. But it would be nice if there was a connecting line, because the other factor is that if you're using two different transit systems, you most likely, I'm pretty sure, have to pay a separate fare. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. For any of you that use Presto, Presto is kind of like the tapping card system across. That's one thing that's good. Like the inclusion and like the introduction of Presto, in my opinion, has been nice in the sense that you can kind of centralize everything now. Like you just need the one card, and it's just as simple as tapping and tapping on, tapping off. I feel like we're late to that. I don't know if does every city have a version of that where you basically have this card, like basically a debit card that you load with money, and you tap it onto your bus or train of choice, and then you can, if it's in the same line, if it's in the same subway line or whatever, and you're just transferring, you typically don't have to pay again. But the thing I'm saying is that if I'm going from a Mississauga bus to like a Toronto bus, TTC bus, I'm pretty sure back when I was doing it, you would have to pay again. But if it was connected, which is what I was trying to say, is that it would be nice, because you just pay once. But we can't get what we want. But you know what? To save money, I ended up getting a car. That's the solution, guys, to all life's problems. If you're afraid of the slightest bit of extra spending on the TTC, just buy a car and have no money at all. That's the solution, guys. That's what I was leading to with all this. That everything ties in, We get a job where you have to in COVID and with the war and all that. The war has to do with it, right? With the gas stuff. That's just how politically and just like current event savvy I am, that why is the gas expensive again? I just want it to be, can't it just be cheap? Can't it just be cheap? But that is a valid big thing lately. It's been hovering around $1.70, which is crazy. I think it hit 180 at some point, like for one day, and that was like, It didn't hit 2 yet, thank God. Like whenever that happens, ugh. But yeah, like because my car, on a full tank, it's like I think it's like 700 kilometers or just under. I never go to full because my thing is like I'll always put 40 or $50 no matter what. Like no matter what the price is, and whatever 40 or $50 gets me, like that's what I'm doing. So to give you an idea of like the tank of my car, if I'm like in the last quarter or so of the tank and I put in like $40, that'll typically get me like to 2/3. 2/3 to 3/4 is typically when I spend like $50, it's more likely 3/4 or a little more, like a few bars to the top. But yeah, like it's always like the safe amount to do, like 20 is especially these days, like 20, it doesn't do a lot, like you got to do like 40 or 50, because I think that's like the spot where it's like it's a lot, but it's not crazy, like I don't feel like I'm spending too much money. It's all like weird subliminal mental stuff. It doesn't really matter. I could be putting a full $60-$70 into my tank, whatever it is, to fill up my tank, and it's gonna and I end up really spending the same amount of money anyways. It's just like a psychological thing. Just let me have this, guys, okay? Just let me think that putting less money will somehow make me save money. But in some ways, it kind of does, kind of doesn't. But it's just one of those things, you just whatever makes you feel better, baby. Whatever makes you feel better. But yeah, like speaking of being in the car, I've been doing those car streams. I've been pretty consistent with that. I'm proud of myself. I want to keep that going. We're we've been, as I've said, as we're trying to like schedule everything out the whole day. I realized, like I found that doing the streams either on lunch or after dinner, or I should say right at lunch or right after work, sometime after 5, is nice, because by the time I finish work, I'm like, depending on the day, like I can end anywhere in like the GTA, but typically in the West End. And it'll take a certain amount of time for me to like get back to my area, like maybe like half an hour depending on the traffic, plus sometimes I'm starving, I want to get some food. And I found that my routine became with the streams is that I would start streaming as soon as I'm done, go grab some food, and then just chill and hang out. And to me, what I view it as is like, it's kind of like my post-work, sitting on the couch and unbuttoning my pant belt buckle, unbuttoning, like just letting that button fly off and hit someone in the face. Have a beer, except in this case it's water, or actually a root beer, because I typically get root beer. Actually, it's root beer or an iced coffee. Actually, I take that back. It's a vanilla iced coffee I'll typically get. But let's just view it as like my beer/root beer. And I'm just like, watching TV. But TV in this case is me just reading text of all the beautiful virtual people on the stream. But since it's, if you ever see the Twitch app, I'm basically just looking at myself. And I'm basically just talking to myself for like an hour with people chiming in here and there. And it's a lot of fun though. Honestly, like I would say, if you guys want to chill, literally talk about anything, and nothing's off the table, guys. I try to like weave in current events here and there if it's something relevant. Not like on purpose, like it's just like if it's relevant, like, oh, another guy that's going to talk about the Chris Rock slap. Oh, because we want that. We want more of that. But it's fun though. I love it. I love it. It's great. And it's just it's a cool like kind of experiment too, to just see, because like it's one of those things that like if I know I want to try something, I sometimes will just keep saying it and not do it. But this was one of those ones where I just I'm just gonna bite the bullet. There's no risk at all. I just do it. I think when I'm in my worst state, it's when I think about all the figuratives and I don't actually follow through. And that's literally what I said earlier. So again, we bring it back. We bring it back, guys. You always got to just go for it. Just do it. You got to just do it. You gotta, like, I love that, like, I was being lazy about literally just talking to myself and eating food. Like, that's pretty much what it was. Oh man, I don't know if I could just talk and eat food today. I don't know if I can do that. Oh, I'd rather go home and stare at my phone for like 5 hours, but somehow think that I'm being more productive for some reason. What is it about that? It's actually the worst. That's the one thing about the phone that's like so the worst, that you literally are just on, like, you keep thinking that what is it with this instant gratification, and I think that's kind of what caused us to become this certain way of, like, if it's not instantly appealing to me, then, like, I don't care. But, like, there's always going to be something for you because there's just infinite things at all times, right? So I like that. I honestly, like, made it a thing too. Even though I'm on my phone for, like, work, I'm not really, like, on it, and it's nice to just be in the moment and, just kind of taking the scenery, I honestly, like, at least once a day I have, like, these moments or I try to, sometimes you're caught up and you don't always get that moment. But even now, like, I have it right now, where that realization that, like, wow, like, like, I appreciate where I'm at right now. I appreciate everything I got going for me, everything that's going on in my life, everything that I have. I don't take any of this for granted. And, just, I think when you can come into any situation with, like, that mentality, then you're just, like, bulletproof. Because, you're already appreciative. Because I feel like it's all a mentality thing. It's all a mentality. Because, like, you can be in the exact same situation you have now, positive or negative, and it'll be an infinitely different experience. But it's honestly such a hard thing too, because I was just in a rut. I'm honestly so much better now. Thanks for asking. But yeah, for those of you that didn't know, I was in a bit of a funk a few weeks ago, and I've slowly come off it. But it was, like, pretty bad, and it's like, it's one of those things that, like, just the idea of, like, when you're in a negative place, it's hard to, like, get yourself out of it, and it's easy, like, what it is you have to do, but when you're in that place, you only know when you're there what I mean, of, like, especially if it gets, like, pretty negative and dark for you or whatever, like, you're in your own head, that it can be hard to kind of see that rationale of, like, the advice of, like, like, trying to look at things in a positive light. But it's honestly one of those things that you kind of have to just go through and just, you gotta push through. You gotta push through, guys. You gotta push through, make progress. You just gotta push through. You gotta push through that moment and just let that moment just roll right off you. You're not soaking in that moment. This kind of moment. But actually, you might want to soak in the moment. Just rub that, put that moment all up. Put that moment in a microwave, let it melt for a few seconds, and then, like, let the moment cool off a bit, and then pour that moment all over your body. Just rub that moment. Just rub that moment all up in your skin and just accept it, and just, wow, this is that moment. This is that exact moment that I've been talking about, and I love this moment now. That does that help, guys? Does that help you? I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Yeah. 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 You know what I mean. You know what I mean, guys. But yeah, I put out a new skit this week, if you didn't see it, called The Social Smoker. Little background context, as you might have been able to tell. I actually filmed that right after work one day, because I was like, I want to kind of, like, I want to embrace this new environment of mine. It's nice, change of scenery. It's a little different. I do want to film more videos in the car, or just, like, outside the house, and just while I'm out, I want to take advantage of that too while there's daylight. But it's kind of fun filming at night too. I want to see. I was debating on that. And one thing I'll actually say that I acknowledge, I don't think it's that serious, but let me just point out the flaw so that you guys can see it. But that very first shot of the skit, and go comment on it too if you hear this. Go comment on it, and let me know that you've been listening to the podcast, you a real one if I get one of those comments on that video about the fact that the first frame, the first shot is actually, I filmed that was a reshoot of of that line, and it was after I filmed everything else. So you can actually see that the lights are on in the parking lot there, and it's darker. But then it's like brighter after, because we love that continuity. Guys, in this world, in that timeline, it was nighttime, and it was kind of like just dawn was just like coming over the horizon. It was the break of dawn. So that's the version that we're sticking to, okay, guys? But comment about the fact that it was the break of dawn, guys, in my video. Comment about how much you love the fact that it was the break of dawn, because these are the details that I of course premeditate and think about, and I just completely ruined the whole allure of that whole operation that I have going there. But we do what we can. We like to give a little behind the scenes peeks, little bow peeks. But another big thing, I didn't even get into this. Jeez, we're already almost at an hour, and I didn't even get into the fact that because you all care, but I'm going to Cuba soon. It's actually, okay, at the time of recording, it's the 6th. I'm going on Monday, actually the 11th, and I'm going for a week. So I'm going I think it's Monday to Monday. And I'm gonna try, like, I'm at least gonna stream for sure. I'm gonna do some kind of content over there. But I want to try and do a skit. I always want to do skits in, like, kind of these different, like, whenever I have these trips, but sometimes it's too much pressure. Or, like, not even just too much pressure. It's like, it's a weird thing where, like, it's a vacation. I'm trying to relax. But I also want to take advantage of the fact that I'm there, and, like, utilize that setting if I can. And there's been a few select ones. I mentioned this before. But yeah, the one that I don't know why I keep thinking of it. Like, I always think of my one video, So There I Was. That's what it's called, So There I Was. And probably one of my favorite ones that I've done that was, like, in a notably different place. Because that video in particular was filmed at my friend's cottage. And that trip alone was, like, one of my favorite events. So it's one of those things where it's like, for me personally, the context of first of all, I love the video. Me just tooting my own horn. No, I thought it was just a funny experience filming that video. If you go back to my video, So There I Was, because it's a vacation, and it's like the next morning after we were, like, partying and stuff, and, like, everyone's a mix of, like, hungover but also, like, trying to start the day, and and I'm also, like, just grateful that all my boys there, like, were playing along with it. But it was around when the channel was new, and I think it had already popped off. So everyone was, like, kind of encouraging and stuff. So that was really fun. But yeah, in terms of, like, just the experience, like, I view, like, everything on the channel, it's like, it's almost like a journal entry, because, like, the videos, something that I'm to some extent thinking about that week. It's not always directly relevant to what's going on, but but this new setting, so with the car setting and, like, with the social smoking one, the one that I just did, I don't know, that kind of, like, shows that, like, ooh, that's the time that I'm doing this, I'm doing these car streams and, like, working and stuff in my car. But yeah, that video in general, that just stemmed from just the idea of being a social smoker was always interesting to me, because it's like, I found it kind of impressive. Like, the idea of, like, people that can truly just be social smokers, I find that very hard. Because I find that a lot of people that I know that, there's a few that I know that can genuinely just be social smokers. But I find that that's sometimes, like, a harder thing to do. Because I'll admit, like, I'm acquitted. I'm acquitted, as in my trial. No, like, I quitted, past tense. I quitted smoking on multiple occasions. My longest stint was 5 years, and then I kind of backslid a bit, and I actually have since stopped. I stopped around Christmas, and like, me, and this is honestly, it's one of those things, like, for me, it was always, that the times that I stopped, it was because I was actually just sick of it. Like I literally, I'll admit I get the cravings here and there, but like when I stop, And I don't even know why it was I started. It wasn't any like reason even, but I kind of got to that point. I realized like and even before, it never really did anything for me personally. And like, all respect and no judgment for whatever you do. And it's one of those things too, like I swear for people that try to get people to quit doing any sort of like, substance or anything, whether it's like drinking, smoking, whatever. It's just, no one, for anyone that's been on the receiving end, that like you don't want to hear it, it's like, there is no advice that I could even give to like someone to quit. It's like they kind of have to do it. It's fully on you, and it's like, it's, you can kind of view it as like a weirdly selfish thing on both ends, where it's like the one person, like one person's looking out for your health, but they're also selfishly trying to get you to, I wouldn't call it selfish. It could be selfish maybe, because it's like you're trying to enforce your will on them, but you kind of just wish they could just listen to you. But I don't know. It's just a tough thing, people have to be willing to want to, take that leap, so to speak, and take that step to quit. But specifically with social smoking, just the idea of, because I know, like, again, know people that do that, and I always found it like, whenever I heard it like as a joke, like, because I always viewed it as a thing, like people use it as like, it's like most people that smoke view it as a vice, right? And it's almost always for sure viewed as a vice. Like I don't think anyone really positively says that they smoke, but like I always viewed it as like kind of like an excuse to say, oh, I'm just a social smoker. And then I always like had that joke, and I always wanted to make that, just the idea of, it's really just an excuse. And that video, like in my way, my little cursed way of representing that it's just an excuse. But yeah, I got my buddy to help me film that video. A little behind the scenes, my one buddy that's in that video with me. He's he helps me out in a lot of it. You'll notice him in a lot of my videos. Actually, he's great. Yeah, like I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have him in my skits, because like I would have to film by myself, and that would be weird. Could you imagine if it was like just me in my videos? That would be like, yeah, like good thing I have people in my videos, right? He is devilishly good looking, though. Yes. But yeah, where do I even go from there? I don't think there's much to say after that, guys. All I could say is twitch.tv/Tito, please. You gotta join in on the streams. They're fun, okay? They're fun. And like, I want to get to the point, but like, I feel like I'm scared of this next step of like, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Is it the right thing to do to like have specific times to stream? Like maybe maybe that's my next step. I don't know if that's what it takes for me. Maybe I could try it out, because like the last thing I want to do, and I've never treated the channel that way, which of course you could tell because of my sporadic and completely inconsistent posting schedule or anything schedule, is that like, like I kind of just did stuff on my own time. And I always felt that, and I've heard this too as like, as advice from people that are starting up on like, either, content creation in general, is to not, I don't know, I've heard both to do specific times and to not, because like if you do, then you have to like kind of answer to people, or like, you don't really have to, but you feel obligated that if you miss it, then you gotta like give an explanation and everything, but which isn't like the biggest deal, but I don't know. So it works for some people. I know a few YouTubers that, are a lot, and like, content creators and streamers and stuff that do specific schedules, And I feel like if you know you can maximize your viewership, then of course go for it. And if it works in your schedule, it's good. I think for me, it's just that I want to have some level of flexibility mentally. Like I want to know that I can not do it or do it whenever I want as opposed to specific times. But I don't know. I'm just overthinking it. It's all a learning process, guys. We're going through it right now. But we're going to do some of those streams. I want, of course, for nighttime, it tends to be the gaming streams. I still at some point want to do a little fun painting stream too. That's one that I've been meaning to do because I've mentioned that I kind of haven't done a painting since that first one I did a few weeks ago. But I do want to at some point. I know it's one of those things on the docket that like maybe I'll get to it at some point. But one day you'll just see it. I'll just be streaming and it'll be me painting. But yeah, look forward to all that stuff. Been writing out a bunch of videos, different ideas. Honestly, like that's one thing that when I'm actually it's been like that since I've done the channel, is that I've always left myself some sort of like source to write notes. Right now, it's obviously I have my phone now when I'm in the car. But, don't text and drive, guys. The one actually good idea that one of my friends actually told me about was to do voice memos. So, like, that could be a better thing, guys. Like, if you're, like, wanting to document an idea and you don't want to lose... It's one of those things, like, you don't want to lose it while you're driving. And, trying to write it down as a voice memo could be neat. That might even be a cool skit idea. Yeah, I might even write that down now. You guys can audibly hear me writing this down. So I have this document that I write down all my ideas in, and wait, what was that again? It was writing down ideas or voice memos in the car. Literally stuff like that. I'll literally like, even if there is no specific idea there, I'll literally write down whatever comes to mind. And if it seems like there's potentially an idea there, or if it's an interesting topic that I might have something to say, I'll write it down. That's my thing. I'll literally just spew out, like every time I have like a good idea these days, like I just write it down. And then sometimes I have more of it worked out and I'll write it. But a lot of the time it's just like a rough note and then I'll come back. Like right now I have a bunch of notes on my phone that I want to move to this, my Google Doc Bible that I have here of, how many pages is it now? I think I've told you. Oh, it's 65 pages. Jeez. Oh, actually, it's 65 pages of the new document. Jeez. Oh, yeah, because I split it up because the other one was like lagging because of how big it was. I think it was literally I think I've mentioned it was over 200 pages, but this is the same document that I've had since the beginning of the channel. Maybe I'll publish it as a book for my own self one day. It's literally just the loosest like ideas. Like it's actually kind of neat to look back on because it's like the basic idea, and then I kind of write it in dialogue. I don't write it in specific script format because it's just in a Google Doc. It's kind of just for myself. But I write it out, like I write it like dialogue in a novel. That's kind of how I write it. I don't do it in script format, but it's good practice to do it if you're trying to get into writing and stuff. But this is kind of like my journaling. But yeah, guys, always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, guys. I appreciate you all. Hope you all have a good rest of the week. This has been fun. I always like these little therapy sessions where I just spew out my brains onto the interwebs for you. I don't know why everything that I'm saying today just sounds totally dirty, or at least maybe I'm the only one perceiving it that way. Who knows? But appreciate you guys. Whether you're in the car, you're at home, or you're listening to this in your ear holes in the middle of the night and in the middle or wherever you are. I hope you have a good rest of the day or whatever it is you're doing. And keep at it, guys. Keep at it. Okay, just keep going. You just got to keep going. You have no other choice. You got to keep going. And, try to enjoy it too. Just keep going and try to enjoy it. Don't hurt yourself and you can't do too much. Don't do too much. It might not come out right. As the great Tommy Wiseau said, and that is of course where we ended off, guys. Appreciate you, and have a good one. Bye bye. Ooh, that's. Let me just click that record button. Let me just caress that record button. I could just end it now. Let me just.